In this position, Pentala Harikrishna played bishop a4. Okay, we'll get back to Harikrishna's game soon, but let's start with a short introduction. It won't be a big revelation if I say these days India is a chess powerhouse. This is partly due to the former world champion Viswanathan, who was the first Indian player who broke through to the chess elite in modern era. In a sense, chess is back to its roots, since our game was invented precisely in India about 1,500 years ago. Recent proof of Indian power was the latest Vacanze Super Tournament held in January 2025. As many as 5 Viswanathan's countrymen were playing there, with 2 of them taking the top 2 places. The first prize was decided in a blitz tiebreaker where Grandmaster Praggnanandhaa won 2-1 against the current world champion Gukesh Dommaraju. Tactics is the most important part of chess, and that's why this video will be an overview of tactical fireworks shown by Indian players at the mentioned Vacanze tournament. The first example has been already highlighted. The position comes from the game of Pentala Harikrishna playing black against an ambitious Serbian grandmaster Alexei Sarana. In this position, Harikrishna played bishop a4, and this move combines 2 important tactical motives. The first one is a skewer, and the second one is deflection. These 2 pieces are skewered, which means that the queen is attacked, and if she goes away, bishop captures the rook that was standing behind her back. Therefore, in this position, Sarana took the bishop, but the queen was deflected, which means she could no longer protect another rook. Obviously, black took that rook. As a consolation, white took the pawn attacking the black rook, and black played queen c7 to protect this rook and to emphasize his dominance on the c-file. The net outcome of the whole operation was that black ended up with a tiny material advantage. Now black has a rook against a knight and 2 pawns, and in most cases a rook is stronger. Besides, black pieces are much better placed, and therefore black went on to win, though not without some minor inaccuracies from both sides. So we can move to the next example. This position comes from the game of the world champion Gukesh Dommaraju playing black, and his opponent was a Dutch grandmaster Max Warmerdam. In his first move, the world champion entirely destroyed the white king's cover with temporary knight sacrifice. The basic justification of this sacrifice is that white cannot take the knight, because then queen comes to g3 with check, and then again check, takes the bishop with check, and after king moves, rook enters to f2, and white is hopeless since the queen is going to check on h3 or h6 and then checkmate on h2. Therefore, instead of taking the knight, Warmerdam played knight c5 attacking the e6 pawn, but Gukesh didn't care and played knight f5. Again, white has something to think about. If he takes the pawn as planned, black takes the bishop attacking the queen, and if white recaptures, you have a similar pattern as you have seen before a while. The queen enters with check. After king h1, it's not a bad idea to take this pawn, and after king g1, there is an option for lazy people. First, take this pawn with check and take the knight, but there is also an option for more ambitious players, namely check and here, and again, white is hopeless against mating threats, while his own counterplay like rook c8 check is going nowhere because he can do one more check and that's all. Therefore, in this position, white refused to take the e6 pawn. Instead, he played queen g4 in order to protect this vital square with his queen. Now the e6 pawn is really hanging, so the world champion used his own queen to protect it, and white moved his knight towards the center. Unfortunately, his position is hopeless due to disrupted king's cover and numerous pawn weaknesses. and Gukesh's next move, knight c6, emphasized one of them. Pawn d4, attacked with 3 pieces, cannot be properly defended, and therefore white went for a desperate counterattack with knight f4. Soon he realized that it is completely ineffective, and after bishop takes d4, white duly resigned. Wasn't it premature? Maybe a little, but I can understand Warmerdam that he didn't want to continue against the world champion in a position like this. Besides, he must have seen that after exchanging bishops, white cannot reduce the pawn deficit, as he cannot take on e6 because the e6 pawn is properly protected by 2 pieces. Furthermore, if white takes on e6 without exchanging bishops, he just loses material in a line like this. Takes, check, takes, takes, and takes. If you consult an engine, you could add many subtleties to this analysis, but instead of that, let's go to the next example. And the example comes from the game of the Vacanze winner, Grandmaster Praggnanandhaa, playing white. His victim was Alexei Sarana, the player I mentioned a few minutes ago while presenting his lost game against Pentala Harikrishna. As in the previous example, we'll see a piece sacrifice made in order to destroy the enemy king's position. This time it will be even more spectacular. It is white to move and Praggnanandhaa sacrificed the knight. If you don't take it, you can just resign, so Sarana took it and white continued with rook takes c6. Now we can do the first assessment of the sacrifice. In exchange for the knight, white has already took 2 pawns and is on the point of collecting the third one, as black has no defense against bishop takes b5, and after a takes b5, queen takes b5. If black wants to cover his king with the bishop, there comes knight f5 attacking the queen, and after the forced queen's move, white takes the knight and is left with 2 pawns up and a crushing attack. Therefore, Sarana supported his shaky defense with a rook, and after knight f5 he could retreat with the queen, still protecting his knight on f6. There came capture, and now white could capture once more on b5, but he didn't want to see the move rook b7. Therefore he played a6 first to control the b7 square with the pawn. In a response, black hacked his king with the rook. By the way, it is also a discovered attack against the knight. However, white doesn't have to worry at all. There came check, king went to the corner, and Praggnanandhaa played knight d6, creating a new threat, rook takes c8, with material gains. Now we're close to the last word of this drama. This was more or less forced, and white responded with a brilliant queen sacrifice, which made his opponent resign. The point is that if black takes, white takes with check, and after the king's move there comes checkmate. In overall, a beautiful attack. Bobby Fischer couldn't have done it better. I'm a chess teacher and I like leaving my students with some exercises, so this is a puzzle for you. The position comes from the first tiebreaker game between Gukesh and Praggnanandhaa. As I told you, Praggnanandhaa won the tiebreaker match with a score 2-1. However, it was Gukesh who won the first game. In this position, Praggnanandhaa, playing black, blundered with the move queen d6, and after the following white's move, he was dead lost. If you spot that white's move, just leave a comment with the word done.